Well, hello everyone. It is Friday, 16th of February, 2024. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and for time constraints, we're going to pack a lot in here. Probably be a little bit of talking in this one, a few screens I want to show you. Let's get started. If you like this content, please go to CallDelToSell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when each Friday's blog has been uploaded. Thank you. Look, you know, there's no secret that there's some bad news out there, but there's always good news out there. And one thing I despise is someone who focuses on one extreme or the other. I like to be more disconnected if I can use that word. You know, it's like you see the salesman type people that show you a beautiful red giant SUV and they're polishing up like a big old apple. Look how spacious and roomy it is, while they kind of ignore the fact that the gas mileage is awful. Or vice versa, they try to sell you that you're going to save the planet if you buy this little baby car. Of course, it may be more dangerous, less room for crumple zones, more dangerous, impact from fire, and you have to step outside to change your mind. But that's all right. They'll sell. The salesman is to give you the one positive only and hide the negative. I like to give everything together. And there's always a mixed bag. I don't care what happens. You always got a mixed bag. Let's start out with this first thing we're going to look at right here. This is from Fred, the Federal Reserve Economic Data. St. Louis puts this out. All right. So we have housing inventory, median days on market in the United States. So I want to hit this first to show you where we were back in the day. This is 1980. What's this? 88 days on market in January of 17. What you bet this is going to be a January of the next year? 83 days on market. 81 days on market. 2020, 82, pretty well much in the 80s. Then we got the post-COVID fear of missing out. Everybody's got to get a house, and that's what caused so much of the prices to skyrocket so quickly, and what may be a challenge. Now, not everybody bought a house in 2021 or 2022. Right? So there's a good chance that this doesn't even affect you because you would have bought ahead of time. Rates were low. We just saw post-COVID spike because people were fearing they weren't going to get one. And the days on market came down. People were buying before they would even hit the market. That kind of just total, I thought is a little bit crazy, but it's markets do what the market does. I've never punched anybody out to get the last roll of toilet paper either, or brick of cream cheese. So people do strange things. That's how market dynamics work. You know that. We'll look back at this picture here from Fred. The last data we're going to have is going to be December, and it's 61 days. Okay. Well, let's find out where it was the year before that. December was 65 days. So it's a little shorter than it was back the same time next year or last year. So we're actually fewer days on the market now than we were a year ago. So that would indicate the market is doing a little bit better. But all we hear is that the world is coming off its axis, and the cats and dogs are living together, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man will be at the window, and don't cross the streams because everything is terrible. It is not. It's just different. It's a little challenging, and we're going to look toward the future. We're going to speculate a little toward the future. So we see this. Right? Really not much different. We still see the cyclic nature. Days on market gets worse as it gets gray, and as we start head to spring, it bottoms out by half the year. May, guess what happens right after June is the second half of the year, which they're talking about adding cuts, taking money off, maybe helping the mortgage market there. But it's the same cycle that we've always had. It's still cyclic. Well, let's look at this one. This is Market Watch. Economic report, Dateline today. I'm not going to try to pronounce Arthur Swaminathan's name because I won't get that correct, and I don't want to be insulting to him. U.S. housing market, housing starts fell by almost 15% in January to 1.33 million. He's going to harp on that number over and over again, but I think we might be looking at something in the future a little bit different than what it suggests here. The numbers: construction of U.S. homes fell 14.8% in January as home builders scaled back new projects. I want you to recognize scaled back new projects because these are talking about starts. All right, if we pull this out, they repeated housing starts fell to the lowest level since 2023, August thereof, the drop since April of 27%. If we ignore the pandemic drop, it's the most since 2015. I think he's beating his mule, he's flogging his mule, that housing starts took a big drop. Now we're going to see somebody's opinion here in just a second. Let me get it positioned if I can find it. But before we get there, I want to hit this part. The single family and multifamily construction fell in January with the latter. I want you to pay attention to this because we're going to talk about banks and maybe why we had some drops. Right here, right here. Multifamily construction fell in January with the latter registering nearly 36% drop. That's in multifamily. Right? It says right below that, a bit more recent survey of builders in January. Builders were upbeat about future sales of new homes and optimistic about demand as they expect interest rates to fall throughout the next year or the rest of the year. And that's not likely to happen until at least the third quarter if we believe what the actual committee said they were going to do with the rates. They weren't going to drop the Fed rates until the second half of the year. It's what they said. But yet people believe something different, which is what we have here. Key details: builder scaled back construction of new single-family homes, leading to a 4.7 drop, as well as apartments, which there's your multifamily, 35.8%. Well, I'm happy to see people building more homes and less apartments. And we get down here to where it says what they are saying. All right, let me get this highlighted for you. What they are saying: housing starts fell by the largest amount since April 2020. You've said that several times in January, led by a huge drop in multifamily starts. We suspect that the multifamily sector will continue to be a drag on development this year, giving a huge number of multifamily units already under construction. Thomas Ryan, property economist at Capital Economics, wrote in a note. Here we go. The sharp pullback in starts could reflect bad weather in January. Ali Jaffe, CIBC Economics, wrote in a note, but mortgage rates inched up. Housing activity could remain weak until the Fed signals a more clear intent to ease its policy. The Fed told you in December, at least 3, starting maybe the third quarter. How more obvious could the Fed be? And yet we have people like this expert, Ali Jaffe, CIBC Economics, until they signal a more clear intent to the policy. We're still fighting inflation, people. We still got to deal with that. We haven't tamed it. It's still going down. Food inflation is going up. Shrinkflation is going up. The only thing that's about as down as gas, and that's because they're anticipating less demand. So I don't know how much more clear the Fed could be on interest rates than what they've already been. But people hear what they want to hear. Now, let's talk about a little bit about that, why they pull back. Is it the weather? Well, looky here. U.S. eases restrictions on Wells Fargo after years of strict oversight following scandal. Now, I don't know what the scandal was. I'm not going to relive that scandal. Won't go back and look it back up. But is this a time to be easing restrictions on banks, knowing that we've had five banks fail last year? We know that we had New York Community Bank, who bought some of Signature Bank, like 30 branches of it, in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, December in the fourth quarter, write off 2 commercial real estate loans to over $500 million, $513 million in bad loans, set aside 9 times that amount for other failures. That got people worried. We know that commercial real estate is in trouble, not our homes, not our 1 and 2 family homes. So yes, I can imagine the home builders are feeling fairly optimistic about building homes for single families. Now, we're trailing off some of these new starts. It may just be that they're shifting from rentals, from the apartments to homes, because that's where the business is. And it may be those larger, this is speculation, and maybe those larger projects are going to be harder to fund. Maybe there's some bank calls. I hear rumors of certain builders have had bank calls. There's not the big corporate builders, but fairly large kind of family builders that build quite a few homes. Some of those are beginning to see some tightening action going on there. It's just all whispers in the wind, feathers in the wind, whatever you want to call it. But is this the time, with 5 recent bank fails and New York Community Bank looking sketchy, is this the time to release them from whatever scrutiny they were under. I don't know why they were under there. It says right here, let's get it. Ken Sweet, 7:35 Central Time, February 15th, being yesterday. New York, AP. The Biden administration eased some restrictions on banking giant Wells Fargo, saying the bank has sufficiently fixed its toxic culture after scandals. I don't know about his culture. I just want to make sure the books are balanced. I want to make sure that they're not holding a bunch of worthless paper. I want to make sure all of my banks are not holding worthless paper. I'm more concerned about that in 2008, the fallout from that when we scapegoated subprime borrowers, subprime mortgage, people who didn't have the 640 score, blamed them for it all, when a lot of it was how the banking and monetary system itself went and what they were doing. But we blamed it on the subprime people because it can't be the bank's fault. And here we have it once again. We're easing regulations on it. Now, we had a program. I'm going to give you this link to this, let you read it. They're going to talk about it. The scandal tarnished the reputation of San Francisco-based Wells Fargo, which 8 years ago was considered one of the best-run banks in the country by investors and analysts, just like Silicon Valley. It was progressive, it was all of the stuff, and it was doing really well until the wheels fell off. So you have to stick to your fundamentals. You got to stick to your ratios. You got to stick to your credit scores. You've got to stick to the stuff that makes financial decisions smart, because everything is rolling. Laissez la bon temps rouler. We just had Mardi Gras, by the way. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. It's a little late, but happy Mardi Gras, y'all. It's what it is. Money, you just can't throw pearls to swine. If people don't have the money, if they don't have the income, if they don't have the credit, it's tough for you to do that. And as long as everything's growing, it's a risk. It's like rolling the dice on a crap table. At some point, it's going to come up craps. So that's what we have going on. The last thing I want to show you that it's not us necessarily. It's maybe the commercial market that's having trouble. Redfin, United States housing market. Let's slide this down. I've got a little picture here we want to look at. In January 2024, home prices were up 5.2%. And what were we just saying? That housing starts were down? Well, if I was playing real estate man, Mr. Salesman, I would tell you that if the starts are down and the prices are up, now you better be buying you a house, because it's going to lead to low inventory. And we would look back at the Fed's data there that says we're 61 days in December, probably 64 or so by January, and say that's less than the 88 and the 80s that we did have. But looking here, what do we see? Over the long haul, it's still a good thing to own property. Yes, we were up, where were we? January 2024, we were at 4023. Is that correct? Let me see if I can slide this up, get a little better price. It should be down here in the bottom. Watch this down here when I move my flag. 402 in January of this year. Go back up to January of 2020. There it is. It's 382.4. It's significantly up from year over year. What was it from the year before that? 377. So it did get a little bit to 382, but it still rose. And that's what we're going. Yes, we have some job uncertainties. Yes, we have banking uncertainties. Yes, we have weather uncertainties. We got China in a mess, and Japan just went into recession, and Ireland's in recession, and the UK is bordering on it. We have Germany that's bordering on it. The Eurozone is tinkering with it. All that is not good news. Does that make us feel warm and fuzzy? No. But is it the end of the world? No. It's baseball. You're on deck. You don't get to choose what's pitched at you. You got to swing at it. You got to choose to swing or sit back. Let it fall or not. Is it a ball? Is it a strike? It's your job. You don't change what's pitched at you. You just have to swing what's there. That's it. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, CallDelToSell. That's one L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout, and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. All right, let's get this done. Last week, 2/9 of 24, we had 18,194 in the opportunities. That went up over the previous period. 3,570 were the under contract still showing. That was also up over the previous period. And the integer ratio climbed to 20%. This week, 2/16/24, we had 18,129. That's just down less than 100 from last week. 37.18, which is up a little more than 100 from the previous week. And the ratio remained unchanged at 20%. So what am I talking to you about when I could show you more graphics and more pictures and more scary stuff? You looked at days on market. Don't look too bad. We've not quite recovered, so that's an indication that we're still selling pretty quickly. We see that the prices haven't tanked, but they may have kind of trimmed off a little bit nationally. We're doing a little differently here in our market, and you need to call me if you want to find out what a specific area is doing. I'll get the numbers for you. But it's still holding pretty well. What you see is people are having to work for the sales a little bit more than they were during the post-pandemic. Everything is just nuts. We're not going to get a house if we don't buy it right now. So sign on the line, do it, sell it. It's a great offer. Get it. The pressures that were on that because of that short inventory. We're seeing housing starts down a little bit, but it's not housing starts down as much in 1 and 2 family. It's in the multifamily, the apartments and type thing. And that's probably not demand related. It's most likely related, as speculation, to the changing credit market dealing with large commercial real estate loans, because a home builder who buys a lot is different than someone who develops a piece of property that was a farm. You got wet spots, dry spots, and they've got to do a lot of earth moving and getting it laid out and planning and approval and spend a lot of money over a year or so to get it ready. Those big developments take big money, and those may hit a snag here a little bit or a little slower, but we're still not in the dumpster yet, are we? No. So why panic? Let's get with it. Remember the baseball analogy. You're on deck, you're in the batter's box, then you're headed to the base or you're headed back to the dugout. One of those things, depending on whether or not you connect. Do you want to knock one out of the park? A dribble to first base is better than nothing at all. It's better than walking back to the bench. Call me.